A dolphin, a beautiful creature with a sensitive mind, intuition, and even the capacity for empathy and love. Dolphins can also be ruthless, playing with their prey and even attacking humans. But when it comes to cruelty and the ability to spill the blood of any species, including their own, humans always take the first place. Right now, a carefree dolphin swims, unaware that a human gaze is fixed on it. A gaze capable of breathtaking compassion and unimaginable cruelty.
And the winner is the Cove.
The Cove is without a doubt one of the most disturbing movies ever made. And yes, it actually won an Oscar. You can mention a Serbian film, Begotten, or The Human Centipede, but deep down everyone knows one thing. Those are just movies. And unfortunately, the most terrifying things are only possible in real life. In the small fishing village of Taiji, Japan, thousands of dolphins are slaughtered every year. A hidden business that the world never sees, protected by secrecy, tradition, and power. But to understand why this story matters and the scale of what happened, let's start from the beginning. The man at the center of this story is Ric O'Barry. Back in the 1960s, Ric was the most famous dolphin trainer in the world. He was the man who captured and trained the dolphins for the TV show Flipper. The show was extremely popular in the 60s, and Flipper was actually played by 5 different dolphins. Ric caught and trained all of them. The house in the show is actually the house Ric lived in, as he said he always took a TV and showed new episodes to his dolphins. Among them was Kathy, a dolphin with whom he shared a special connection. She was intelligent, affectionate, and seemed to understand him in a way no other dolphin did. She would respond to his moods, seek comfort from him, and show a level of empathy that amazed Ric. But then came the moment that changed his life forever. For weeks, Kathy had been sinking into what Ric describes as a clear depression. Dolphins suffer emotionally just like humans, and her behavior showed every sign of it. She stopped responding to training. She stayed motionless for long periods. White stress patches appeared on her skin, a physical symptom that dolphins develop when they're overwhelmed and mentally breaking down. One day, Kathy swam into his arms and simply didn't come up for air. Dolphins don't breathe automatically. They choose every breath, and Kathy decided to save herself this way. A conscious decision made by an intelligent, emotional creature that could no longer live in captivity. After this incident, Ric was overwhelmed with guilt. He realized that he was one of the people who helped create this industry. The very next day, he was sitting in a police station after attempting to free the 2 remaining dolphins held for shows. From that moment on, his life changed completely. He dedicated everything, his time, his money, his energy, to rescuing dolphins around the world. For 10 years, Ric helped build the captivity business, and for 35 years since, he has been trying to tear it down. After the incident, every single day, he worked to undo the thing he once helped create. Years later, when Ric heard rumors of a remote cove in Taiji, Japan, a place where dolphins were driven into the shore, selected, sold, and slaughtered, he knew he had to go. Not as a trainer, not as a filmmaker, but as a man trying to redeem himself. It's also important to mention Luis Ahoyas, journalist, National Geographic photographer, and the director behind The Cove. Without him, this story would never have reached the world. The film begins in Taiji, Japan, a peaceful coastal town with bright flags, clean streets, and smiling statues of dolphins. Everywhere you look, murals of ocean life, friendly mascots, cartoon dolphins waving at tourists. On the surface, Taiji feels like a love letter to the sea. But slowly, the film begins to reveal the other side of the story. We see dolphinariums and marine parks around the world. The bright lights, the cheering crowds, the music, it all looks fun on the surface. Dolphins perform tricks, jump through hoops, smile for the cameras. But the camera doesn't hide what's really happening behind the scenes. Trainers separate mothers from calves. Animals are forced into pools so small they can barely turn. Some refuse to eat. Stress marks appear on their skin. Even the most playful, intelligent creatures start to break. Ric aptly noted that in many towns, for example in Taiji itself, you can eat dolphin meat and enjoy the show. To make it even more disturbing, we watch together with the team as the dolphins are herded. Using loud banging and noise, people scare them and drive them into an area where nets have been set up in advance. Then begins the brutal selection process. A single live dolphin can fetch up to $150,000. The business thrives, but the worst is still to come. The politics around it made the situation even more shocking. Japan had long defended the practice, hiding behind tradition, while international organizations like the International Whaling Commission, IWC, refused to include dolphins in protective regulations. The killing continued largely unchecked. It shows how some governments even justified the massacres by claiming that whales and dolphins eat too much fish, portraying them as pests that harm the fishing industry. This political narrative allowed the killings to continue under the guise of population control and tradition, while in reality it was a mix of profit, bureaucracy, and deliberate blindness from those who had the power to intervene. Ric says they even tried to buy an alternative, offer subsidies so fishermen would stop the hunts. But the fishermen refused. They called dolphins pests, pointed to tradition, and said they were tired of taking orders from the West, and no amount of money or foreign pressure would change that. So let's return to the main story. To make this film possible, Ric and Louis needed a team. Attempts to legally film anything had completely failed. So, as Louis joked, they decided to gather their own team of the 11 Oceans friends. Ric's team included Simon, the mechanic, the man responsible for maintaining all the equipment, and doing much more than that. Then there was Roy, who helped smuggle all the gear into Japan and essentially acted as the film's logistical mastermind. They were joined by 3 incredibly skilled divers, including free diver Mandy Ray, capable of descending 300 feet on a single breath. Many other talented people joined Ric as soon as they heard about his mission, to show the world the true dolphin slaughter hidden from everyone's eyes. To give you an idea of the scale, they managed to collect military-grade night vision cameras, thermal imaging cameras, a drone, and even a small helicopter. Officially, they were filming a movie about dolphins, but certainly not about the killing. Arriving in Japan with all their carefully disguised gear, they immediately realized they weren't alone. Within hours, cars began tailing them, 7 vehicles in total. One of them, according to locals Ric spoke to, was believed to be the police chief's car. Wherever the team went, the pattern repeated. Fishermen appeared, blocked their path, chased them away, or confronted them directly. At one location, a team member later claimed she even witnessed a dolphin being killed right in front of her, a deliberate act meant to intimidate them. This particular moment does raise questions, and we'll return to it later when we break everything down at the end. But one thing was undeniable. No matter where the team went, the reaction was always the same: surveillance, hostility, and constant pressure. Before the story moves forward, the film also makes one thing very clear: dolphin meat is dangerous for humans. Scientists have repeatedly found extremely high levels of mercury in the meat, sometimes far above international safety limits. Mercury builds up in top predators, and dolphins are among the highest on that chain. No, this won't cause a global catastrophe, but nature itself is giving a pretty obvious warning. Dolphin meat is not meant to be food. Long-term consumption can lead to neurological problems, developmental issues in children, and serious health complications, all of which the film references more than once. And yet, in places like Taiji, it was still quietly sold in schools, markets, and restaurants as if it were a harmless delicacy. So, let's move a little forward to the day X. After locating the exact killing site and observing it for days, the team finally decided to act. They knew one thing for sure: once the fishermen arrived for the drive hunt, the area would be heavily guarded. There would be no chance to plant cameras during the slaughter itself, so the only option was to move before dawn, unseen. Any mistake, a flashlight, a sound, a wrong step, and the mission would collapse instantly. Under the cover of darkness, the team split into 2 groups. Using a drone operator to guide them from afar, they crawled over sharp rocks, hid behind boulders, and carefully mounted military-grade thermal and night vision cameras across the cove. By sunrise, the cove was wired, a trap not for dolphins, but for the truth. For the first time ever, the world was about to see what had always been hidden behind tradition, secrecy, and industry. And when the fishermen finally arrived that morning, the cameras were already watching. What they captured would become one of the most shocking sequences in documentary history. The first thing we hear as the fishermen arrive isn't shouting or panic. It's a quiet conversation. They talk about the past, how whales were once so numerous they covered the horizon, how blue whales weren't rare, and dolphins swam in abundance everywhere. Now, decades later, numbers have dwindled. After this brief, almost melancholic moment, they move on to the work at hand, to actions that many would consider deeply immoral. Let's stop here. The next scene should be watched individually after you've seen the full film yourself. I want you to understand, I'm not an animal rights activist. I eat meat like there's no tomorrow, and sometimes fish, but realizing that this is done to animals that have consciousness is incredibly hard. The slaughter is done with spears, which only intensifies the feeling of hopelessness. The team recorded the dolphins' last sonar, the sounds they make in their final moments. The impact was immediate. International attention surged, discussions erupted, and for many, the reality of the dolphin hunts could no longer be denied. Many people in Japan reacted negatively to the film, seeing it as an outside attack on their culture and livelihood. They accused it of being biased and sensational, which only fueled the controversy further. The Cove had exposed what generations of secrecy had tried to hide. Let's now talk about the film as a whole. First, let's address the controversial moments that can't be ignored. One of the most haunting scenes shows a team member, diver Mandy, crying as a dolphin dies while fishermen nearby appear to laugh. There is a video on YouTube where fishers saying that there was no dolphin and she just pled. Most likely, no dolphin actually died on that exact day, and perhaps the team member's reaction may not seem entirely natural, and the local fishermen were clearly joking around. Despite this, the footage the team member refers to is indeed in the film, and most likely they reshot the moment to capture more attention, which, honestly, I don't really fault them for. For me, even if some details are disputed, the team managed to draw the world's attention to a hidden problem and show the cruelty humans are capable of. So, the big question remains, what has the Cove actually achieved? Did it stop the killings entirely? The short answer is no. As of 2025, the hunts in Taiji are still ongoing, but to say the film achieved nothing would be a huge understatement. After the Cove was released, for the first time, millions of people around the world saw what had been happening in that quiet little bay in Taiji. Before the film, most people outside Japan didn't even know the place existed. After the film, everybody was talking about it. Journalists, activists, celebrities, marine biologists, regular viewers who had never cared about dolphins before. The method of hunting itself has changed. It's now almost impossible to witness. Tents and other measures hide the process, and from what's been reported, they are killing the dolphins faster. Not exactly a relief, but it shows that the Cove forced change where there was none before. The Japanese Association of Zoos and Aquariums, JAZA, banned its members from purchasing dolphins from Taiji, a massive blow to the industry, since selling live dolphins was the hunters' biggest source of income. The fishermen often justify it by calling dolphins pests. But if they are pests, why sell and eat their meat, which can harm both adults and children through mercury contamination? According to the information I found, the current dolphin hunt may even not be at a lower level than it was in 2008, which is extremely sad. It is hard to understand the real numbers, as the International Whaling Commission still does not include dolphins and other small cetaceans on the list of protected species. Therefore, the protection of dolphins is handled by private organizations. It may sound as if the film didn't change anything at all, but I don't think that's true. It has inspired many people to help animals, and for hundreds more, including myself, it opened their eyes to what lies hidden behind the smiles of dolphins in marine parks. The film reminds us that change often starts with one person willing to face the darkness, one team willing to take risks, and one camera capturing the truth. The Cove didn't stop the hunts, but it stopped the silence. It forced the world to look. It pressured institutions to rethink their role. It pushed an entire industry to hide behind tarps instead of pretending it was a proud tradition. And it inspired thousands of people, researchers, activists, filmmakers, and regular viewers, to ask questions they never asked before. I know that right now, dolphins might be the last thing anyone feels they should worry about. Living in Ukraine, I can't ignore the global crises, the fear, and the chaos happening everywhere. But maybe, just maybe, someone who watches this video will pause for a moment and remember that we share this planet with other living beings. Maybe for someone, This will be the first time they even hear about this issue. Either way, the film is a powerful reminder of something bigger than just the Cove. It's a story about the fight between a person and a system, about how even one individual can push back against something that seems untouchable. And to end this, I want to quote a line from the film, itself quoting anthropologist Margaret Mead. "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has."